Well, hello, everyone. This is Gene Trowbridge. This is the Thursday at noon edition of TLG Talk, standing for Trowbridge Law Group. We're a syndication law firm, and all of our interviews like this will be shown on our YouTube channel, which is Trowbridge Law. And today I'm excited to have an experienced syndicator and an educator and someone who really is important in the industry as a resource for all of us who are either new or existing. And I want you to say hi to Adam Adams.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Good to be here, my friend.
Are you in Colorado today?
Yeah, it was 0 degrees this morning. That's how cold it is.
So I guess I would have had to wear a sweater over my Hawaiian shirt if I was there, right?
Exactly.
That's something. Well, thank you for being part of this series of interviews. I think I've done about 27 interviews so far that are on our YouTube channel, and people who have a lot of experience. I've even interviewed two rookies who haven't been willing to pull the trigger yet, to talk to them about, what's the hang up, what's the hold up.
Okay.
And a couple people who would never ever want to be a syndicator, and that was a pretty interesting interview. So I'm expecting you're going to give us some good information to help the people that are in the business or just getting started. But I always ask everyone this question: how did you get to be a syndicator?
I've been in real estate since 2005, and I started out by using creative financing and other people's money as well. And when I was about 10 years into it, I saw, this was maybe 2015 or so, where I saw a lot of people buying these huge things. And I wondered, how do you do that? Like, at the time I was doing like little mobile homes, scrapes, fix and flips, wholesales, and we had a bunch of rentals, 4plexes, 5plexes, and things like that. And I said, how do I do that? How do I get to do this big stuff? So we ended up doing an education program with a company to learn about what syndication was the following year, and we went full into it. So really, it was a lot of years of doing small stuff and realizing that when you're buying a lot of these little things, it just takes so much time, so much effort, so many different insurance policies, so many different roofs, so many different flights to go all over the world to find them. So we just decided we needed to do it. So we took our education and we jumped right in.
Okay. That's a pretty standard answer. It's like you read the answers of 25 other people who I've asked that question to, and it generally boils down to, hey, I wanted to do some bigger deals. I wanted to consolidate. And then what comes after that is, I don't have enough money to do what I want to do by myself. That's how I got into it. Same thing with you back in the 1970s, when I was in Minnesota. I was buying small properties. I was a commercial real estate broker, and it was just getting nuts. So I found a 10-unit apartment building, but I didn't have enough money to buy it myself. So I went to 3 guys I went to college with and said, if we each put $10,000 in here, we don't pay for this thing. Let's do it. And they said, well, what do you mean? What is that? And I didn't know the word syndication or anything like that. I said, just don't worry. Give me the money. We'll do it, and I'll manage it, and it'll all work. And that's how many first-time deals are done. It's done on the people, not so much much for the property. So that's a pretty standard answer, and that's why we're there. But you said something interesting. You said that you went to an educational program, and I now know that you have your own educational program because I've been there several times. What prompted you to start your educational program where you train people to be passive investors and syndicators?
Yeah, well, so our podcast, we teach a lot on passive investments, but for our main education, what we're trying to focus on is the missing link. There's a lot of educators, and they're all friends of mine, so I'm not disparaging in any way. We just feel like the part of the money gets left out a lot. How to raise the money, that you have to raise the money, or how to legally raise the money, that comes out. But actually, what's it going to make you stand apart so that past investors are begging to get in on your deal? That's the piece that we felt like was missing. And so we started focusing on that piece and trying to help people. And just to give you a brief on it, we talk about the KLTI blueprint. I don't have that coined yet, Eugene, but I need to coin it. So it's called the KLTI blueprint. It's know, like, trust, invest. And I always say that most people out there, they go straight to the invest, which is like you're in school and you see somebody that you're attracted to and you ask them to marry you right off the bat. And I just don't think it works. So we feel like instead of going straight to the eye, go first, get them to know you, like you, trust you. And then when you have a deal, it's time to let them know about it. And they're going to be dying to jump into your podcast. So our education is simply a mastermind group, a group coaching mastermind group where all we talk about is how to attract capital.
A couple years I came to Denver to go to one of your live sessions. I know you had me as a speaker, and there are a lot of people in the room, and they're pretty rabid, pretty anxious to do that. Or I'm sure you didn't do the live event in 2020, but are you not doing that now and just focusing on the mastermind group?
No, we host. No, you're right. The Raising Money Summit, we host it every single year, and
Okay.
you've been a speaker a couple of times for us, and we still did host the event in 2020, but it was on online, but
I
yeah,
watched
COVID.
that software, and there was a software issue.
Oh my gosh, there was such a bad software issue. Yeah, I think we shut them down. We had so many people on there, but we generally do it in person. And I plan in 2021, hopefully we'll be able to do it in person this year as well. But we are going to host that every single year. And that's actually one of the ways that people find out about our consulting, about joining the inner circle. And so they'll be there at the event, and a lot of the speakers are in our inner circle, and so people get to talking, and that's actually how we keep the group full, is by hosting that event. So we'll always host that event. We want to give back. It's very low cost way of helping people to attract the most amount of capital. And some of them might want to join our little inner circle group where we talk about raising capital.
So I have a feeling this is going to be later in the year, but if I wanted to learn about that, would I go to realbluespruce.com? Is that where that information is?
We should have raisingmoneysummit.com. Realbluespruce.com is our company, but Raising Money Summit should be a direct link to be able to see what happens at the summit.
Cool. That's terrific. Well, that phrase that you should coin is something that I have a presentation that I give calling Sell the Sizzle. And the purpose is exactly what you're saying. I think, and it's all about how to build your database. And I think the first thing you want to do is you want to go out there and find all the people you can that are interested in real estate. I don't want anyone who wants to buy racehorses in my database because it doesn't do me any good. So I think everyone can tell a good story why investing in real estate could be a good idea. There's a good story for that. And then the thing is, I want you to be able to tell the people that you've got in your database about the area of specialty, the area that you have studied because you think there's an opportunity there. And let's then go through your database and find all the people who agree with, yeah, that area, that's good. There's opportunity there. And so then the people who only want to buy single tenant net lease Walgreens can go away if you're going to do multifamily.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to zero in. What's the opportunity that you see And then the third thing is sell the sizzle of your team. Have you put together a team that has skill sets that will allow you to seize on the opportunities that you've just told everyone is out there, and take your time to tell the people in your database who your team is, and tell them that when you get an offering that's going to seize on this opportunity, your team is going to jump to it, and then we'll tell you and we'll come and ask you for money. So, and I learned that, when I was a syndicator for a long time, I was just like the people you're talking about. Oh my God, I got my documents. I better run around and get some money. I hadn't talked to people for 6 months, but I got a document now, so let's raise. And that's not how you raise money, because the day before, they had a document shoved up them that had a 2% higher IRR than this.
100%.
Yeah, you can
That's
never get by that. So now we turned the pyramid the way it should be. All the people that are interested in real estate, your specialty in real estate, the people that would like to team up with you, and you can share with them your opportunity. Now here's the book, send us the check. To say nothing of what that does in the securities laws about building a substantive relation. You've got a pre-existing substantive relation as soon as you get to the top.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm excited about your sizzle.
Yes, just sell the sizzle. I hate to use the word sell, because I always talk about an opportunity. When you're a rookie, the people who are going to invest with you aren't necessarily going to invest because of the property. They might not even know enough about the asset class, but they see you, they see that you're successful. Gosh, if I wasn't a dentist, maybe I could be as successful as Gene. And gosh, Gene's going to look for some opportunities, and he's going to share the opportunity with me. I might want to get in that. So I think that's it. Of course, as soon as I got that down pat, I left and went to law school. So anyhow.
Well, now you can support people like me, because you've done a couple of our securities, haven't you?
Yes, we have that. Appreciate that. That's for sure. Well, how do you think your business, either your syndication business or your education business, is going to change in the next couple of years, Adam?
I love the question. With our syndication business, buying apartment communities, I think that we're just going to slowly grow. I don't see there being a lot of changes. Some of the deals that we own now will probably be selling, and there's probably a few deals that we'll be purchasing over the next 2 or 3 years. And one thing that I have learned slowly, and a lot because I run a podcast about apartment investing, and I interview other people like you're interviewing me, and I learn from everybody. It doesn't matter if they've done less than me or more than me. I learn from everybody. And one of the big things that keeps singing to me is that I shouldn't grow our portfolio as fast as we can. We should just grow it as fast as it naturally comes to us. I think a lot of people, they want to grow to 10,000 units or $1 billion or 100 million or whatever their goal is that they're striving for. And when we think just about the numbers alone, we lose track of some of the more important things, where it's distributions to your passive investors, etc. So we don't need to grow too fast, but we'll probably purchase a few deals over the next 2 or 3 years.
I think that's wise. I do in my rookie camp that I teach, I do talk about mistakes that I've seen other people make, that I've made. And the biggest mistake I ever made as a syndicator was exactly what you just said, thinking you always had to have a deal on the street. You always. And with me, it was kind of driven by the fact that I was raising money back in those days with the broker-dealer community. And if I didn't have an offering in front of the registered reps who have all these clients and make their money on commission, someone else would walk in the door and show the registered rep the deal, and he'd put this group of investors in that deal, and I'd never get those investors back. So I do know one particular property. We didn't lose it or anything, but it never really panned out, where I was going to an international financial planners conference, and I had paid $15,000 for a booth, and I was going to stand there amongst all my competitors, and by God, I didn't have an offering. So I pushed through the due diligence too fast. Adam, I bought a property that I thought I had a tenant for. Someone was going to bring a credit union into Orange County, and they loved the building. They signed a letter of intent. I said, that's great. This is all I need. And about 2 weeks after we closed, the credit union gurus said, no, we got enough credit unions in California. So I got an empty building. And the reason I rushed it through, because I needed to have a product. You know, I needed to be on the street with a product. So I think you're right. Some of my better clients now who've done a lot of deals, maybe 30 deals, will tell me when they started, 1 deal a year was just plenty. Man, you know, to get the legal documents, to find the property, to raise all the money and communicate with your people, because it is people business.
Yeah.
Anyone can take care of the real estate. You know, you might have, 200 or 300 investors now, and that's people business. That's people, and that's what drove me out of the business. 1,676 K1s in 1 year, and 850 investors.
Holy cow.
And
yeah, we don't have quite that many. we have, there's 742 on our list, but that have invested with us is about 60 people. So I can't imagine 1,100. DJ, my partner's signing all these checks. That carpal tunnel.
Well, there were no companies like there are today who, IMS or CrowdStreet or whatever, who would do all that for you. There were no. And so I remember I had a day that I just hit the wall on all this, and I went home and sat down at the kitchen table where I think all the great decisions in my life have ever been made. Talked to my wife, and I said, what am I going to do for the next 15 years? I want to retire at 60, and I've got some money, but I want to work. I just can't play golf all the time. What am I going to do for the next 15 years? So we decided right there and then I'd go to law school. And I'd go to law school for one reason, so I could be a securities attorney, so I could take my practical knowledge and go out and be a securities attorney. That was 27 years ago. 27 years ago. Okay. So now here's the real reason for me asking you to come on my TLG talks. I do this event for rookies. We take 15 rookies at a time every month and do 2-3 hour classes for them online. And if they've been a syndicator, they can't come. It's rookie training class. What advice would you have when I'm sitting here talking to 15 people who think they want to do it, but they're not sure they want to do it and haven't done it yet? Give me the top 2 things you think they should know.
Well, definitely the top one thing that I think a new syndicator is going to need to know is the steps that it's going to take for you to be successful. I have 5 steps in mind. The first step is your education. I think that's critically important. Now, there's free education and paid education. So you can listen to podcasts, read books, you can go to seminars, or you can join a consulting program. But I think that being educated in the space is really important. There's a lot of reasons why. And I think that becomes the very first step if you want to get into this business. Once you have the knowledge and you have people like Gene in your corner, the next thing is you got to select a market. So you spend a little bit of time navigating all the different markets, making sure that they have good fundamentals. A few things that I like to see on the fundamentals is it's growing 1% year over year in the population. I like to see it's 1 million or more, but just make it a bare minimum, 100,000 people in the MSA, bare minimum. A lot of people are buying in really small areas that just cannot sustain. So it's all about market fundamentals, making sure there's job diversity, there's job growth, that it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy, so that you don't have huge turnover, etc. So you want to look for a market with really good fundamentals, and it's not picking 4 different markets. When you're starting out, pick 1, maybe 2 if you know them really well. But education, number 1, selecting your market, number 2. The third one is building your team. So you need an attorney on your team, a securities attorney. You might need a real estate attorney. You definitely need a property management company that you've vetted and selected in that market. So you're building your team. If you're brand new, I don't want to see you having the blind leading the blind. It might be nice for you to co-GP, co-partner with somebody else on the first 1 or 2. But whatever it is, you've got to build that team, get the team ready and in place. The 4th step is to start raising money. So you might want to have a podcast where you interview people. You might want to have a meetup group where you add value. You might want to put out content, whatever it is. If you're the person adding the value, you're going to be attracting money. And then you want to sit down with people with the money. You want to sit down with them and say, here's a sample deal. Here's a sample deal package. It looks like the type of deal that I'm looking for. And if I find one like this, would you want to be part of it? And my goal is to get 66% of the purchase price raised. And here's pre-committed. Now, here's the thing. If you're looking for a $2 million property, I guess 66% of that is about $3 million. You want to have $3-ish million in pre-commitments before you do step 5. So you know you're going to look for a $5 million, or what did I say? Whatever the point was, it's 0.66% is how much you want to have in pre-commitments, because it usually takes about 33% of the purchase price to close. And you want about twice as much in pre-commitments than you plan to raise, because then you know you'll be able to have it. So education, market, team, money. And then the 5th one is to start calling brokers. You let the brokers know that you've selected this market. The reason why, you let them know this is the property management company. Here's everybody else on my team. And I've already got all this money ready to go. I feel like there's so many people that come to me because of my podcast and education, that they ask me why they're not getting deals, why the broker doesn't send them a real deal. And the whole thing is that they haven't done the education, the market, the team, and the money first. When you do those first 4 steps, it's time for you to be able to call the broker and say, look, everything's lined up. You can send it to me. And now they can have the ability to trust you. So I'm only going to give 1 piece of advice instead of 2, because it's huge. If you know these 5 steps, you will be successful.
Okay. That's very good. That's very interesting. Common answers that I have heard, which are right out of what you just said, is this is not a do-it-yourself business. Build a team. Okay. And I harp on that when passives call me and say, well, you look at this document, I'm thinking about investing in it. Will you look at it? I said, no, I don't do that. But I'll give you 4 questions you should ask. And then so people who are listening to this, who are syndicators, might want to know what the 4 questions are and have an answer. So my first question is, Adam, if I give you my $50,000 for this deal, what happens if something happens to you? So you've got to have your team, just like you're talking about. You've got to have someone else who can sign.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in an era of COVID. We've had 2 sponsors die. But luckily, both of them have taken our advice that there's someone else in the documents who can immediately take over and sign. And other than that, all the investors' money would be at risk. So we can't have that. So that's something a lot of people have said is a team. And another something, and you said pick the market and pick the size and to pick this. Quite a few of the people I've interviewed said you have to decide if you're going to hit this running with properties big enough to afford property management, professional property management, or are you going to start and try once again to do everything on your own until you build up to something. And interestingly enough, the people that I've talked to that are my clients that started out with, well, I made a decision. I'm going to get 100 units, my first deal. Yeah, it probably took them 6 months to do that deal because of all the time it took them to raise the money because they hadn't really done it, but they hit the market as a professional. And I think that's important. Another question that I tell passives that they should ask is, hey, Adam, have you done this before? Well, all of us have had to say no, right?
Of course, yeah.
So one of the things that I think was important in what you said is pick your market, get the brokers and all that, but you got to get the first deal done. Make it a small one, get it done. Because the people that are going to come to you in your first deals, Adam, are going to invest because of you. And if you can't pull the trigger and close on the first deal and give them the money back, they won't be so quick to help you out next time. So you've got to get that first deal done. So that tells me something about it's got to be a specific property in the right size based on your investor database. I think that's good. And then are you going to have any skin in the game? And I used to think that was only cash. But we have to sign mortgages. And I think if you build in your pitch, yeah, I got skin in the game. I'm putting up this in cash and I'm signing this non-recourse loan with all these carve-outs or this resource loan, and I'm pledging my house and my kids and my grandparents and everything. I think that's, this is such a great deal. I'm willing to do that. And, if I didn't need extra money, I would have done this deal myself, but I need extra money. So I'm willing to go so far to get this deal done and provide an opportunity for you. And then the last thing I think that as a passive you should ask is, what are the liquidity provisions in your documents that would help me as an investor if something happens and I need my money out of it? I mean, I'm 72 years old. If I'm going to go into a deal that's got a 7 to 10 year projected holding period, I guess I'm going to want to know what are the provisions in case something happens. And if you have a good law firm, you've got good provisions. The only thing you have to do is you have to have read them so you can explain them to your investors. That's good. Well, that's very interesting. I like that. I like that approach. I don't think anyone that I've interviewed has suggested to me to pick a market, although that goes along with what we've already talked about, selling the sizzle, the opportunity. Well, the opportunity is multifamily. The market is here where households are forming. There's imbalance of supply and demand, new jobs are coming, and all that stuff. But the way you said it, pick a market or two, that's very, very good. I'll write that. I'll steal that. That's very good.
It's yours. It's yours.
Thank you very much. Well, that's about the time I want to take out of your busy schedule. I want you to go outside and freeze your ass off. So
pleasure to be with you, Gene. Thank you.
Yes, it was really fun. I had 2 interviews that I was going to have this week from people in Houston, and they both canceled because of the power blackouts. And we'll come back in March and we'll do something. So it's good. Well, Adam Adams, and on the picture I have on the board, it says the website is realbluespruce.com, BlueSpruce Holdings. And what was the website for your educational group?
They can just go to raisingmoneysummit.com. Raising Money Summit.
Raising Money Summit.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I suppose you'll be planning on doing that during the second half of this year, probably.
Yeah, usually the first weekend of October. So it's scheduled, I think, for the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Well, let's hope you can, let's hope they either get their software fixed or you can have it live this year.
100%. Yeah. Well, I want to do it live in person. So we just need to cross our fingers that COVID kind of relaxes and the, what are they called? The vaccines, they work because we'd really be honored to be able to support people in person again. I miss that.
I'm going to my first live event in many, many months at the end of this month down in Texas. And I finally thought I would just pull the trigger and I've had my vaccinations. I hope that they work. And I've got a nice collection of Ren Spooner masks. So I'll be styling in my mask.
Love that.
Thank you, Adams. Very, very much. Once again, we'll tell you when this is going to be on. It'll be on a Thursday at noon when all of our YouTube channel broadcasts are.
Please do. I'd like to share it with my people.
Good. Thank you, Adams.
Thanks, Gene.